our discussion is on exploring e-government and regulation. Okay, so this will be a very brief session as we have a lot to do today. So what we're talking about exploring e-governments and the regulations. I mean, we know I've had experiences where I was able to consult for a particular company where we did a job with with a government agency, and it was so difficult because of the paper processes. We're supposed to do a system, software management system for them and all that, but some of the top directors were so, hard on it, like, no, let's go this way. We're used to the paper way. I don't know how that will work for a very long time because it's not really giving enough transparency when it comes to our governments. So my first question is, what are the most significant challenges facing the implementation of e-government in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. So just to set the record straight, my name is Bayo Unimodi. I'm the North Central Zonal Coordinator for Nigerian Computer Society. I represent here today Professor Suraju Mohammed, the National President of Nigerian Computer Society. So to your question, I think we must go back to the fundamentals. What are the fundamentals? We need trust. So earlier, the previous speaker, they talked about very basic things that we must put in place. And one of the panelists actually said something about one of the banks. Now, let's not call the name. So the first question that will strike your mind is, so if a bank as big as that could have issues with just software upgrade, like they call it, what then becomes of other entities? Now, it's easier for me to put in like all the platform the Mrs. Ataguba mentioned, because I want to get a driver's license, because I need to get an international passport, because I need to get all of those services. Now, I'm compelled to do all of that. However, how much do I trust those platforms? Even though NDPC is saying, oh, we have the armor, we will wield it when it is time to do that. But sincerely so, how well have they done with the government entities? Just not too long ago, it was in the news that we could actually get the biodata of the Honorable Minister of Innovation and Digital Economy for just $100 online. I mean, as cheap as that. So if the man who pretends over the parastatal that is in charge of your national identity, if I can just get his data for $100, then there's a problem. So what it now means is that the only information I will give to those government entities are those ones that I need to use to access those services. So most fundamentally, I think what we need to do first as people and then as government is that we must build trust around the system that we're even using to collect the data. We must be sure that when I give you my data, it's not going to be available for, maybe BioZone could be available for even 15 naira this time around or less. So we need to build that trust. We need to let the people know that for sure, when I give you my data, it is safe, it is secure, and it's usable when we need to use it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So to our next speaker, what kind of digital infrastructure do you think needs to be put in place for a successful e-governance?
All right, thank you very much. Okay, let me correct the earlier mentioned name for NIRA. It is Nigerian Internet Registration Association. It's a community of multi-stakeholders, of people that are interested in the business of the internet. And sorry, I'm going to answer the question, but let me lay a background so that I can build on your question. So what I'm going to say is that for Nigerian Internet Registration Association is the Nigerian country code top level domain, which is the .ng. And that is where we must begin from. And they are basically responsible for managing the database of every .ng domain and .gov.ng in collaboration with the National Information Technology Development Agency. So, as NIRA, every solution is hosted on domain and other infrastructures. And as a country, there has been a push for people or for developers, for young people, for businesses to host their informations on a structure that is within the territory of the Nigerian states. So, to answer your question, it is very important that we begin to trust ourselves and believe in ourselves that we can host or we can build our own local infrastructure, just like Galaxy Backbone is doing, and we can trust that Galaxy Backbone can manage the infrastructures effectively, that nothing will happen. Instead of so many of us who are used to, whenever it comes to our mind, the first thing that comes to our mind is, let's go and host outside Nigeria. And that has cost us more money than hosting in-house. So for example, what is the cost of buying a .com domain name right now? Compare it to the cost of buying a .ng domain. So the variations are very clear. So for us as a people, there is an awareness ongoing, and that is what Young Innovators is taking the lead for us to begin to see for ourselves in-house on how we can begin to leverage on these infrastructures. And let me tell you, Ma, that apart from Galaxy Backbone, we have some other indigenous Nigerian companies who have these digital, or rather data centers, where all of our resources, all of our solutions can be hosted. Go to, for example, Digital Reality in Lagos. Galaxy Backbone is not very far from us here. We can begin to see how we can trust these people with all of our resources and host with them, so that once there is an issue, you can even decide to take a drive to Galaxy Backbone's office instead of trying to contact somebody on the phone who is somewhere in America with a different time zone that you are finding difficult to respond to you. So if we begin to go in this direction, we believe that our own infrastructure will be better off in the long run compared to where we do some of these hostings. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bayo, do you think that if this e-governance is being adopted, do you think it will generate more income in the public sectors? Or you think there will be other people that may suppress it and probably will just be still where we are?
So, when the e-passport project started, sometime around 2007, 2008, I was part of a firm that handled that project for the government of Nigeria. And one thing was very key. The government, as at then, wasn't looking at the revenue part of it. The government then was looking at the ease of applying and obtaining international passports. Now, unfortunately, in 2024, it looks more like the flip side, where the interest, again, it's the amount that government is able to generate. We're not looking at the ease of making this thing, the passport and all those e-services available to the citizenry. Now, if as a government, again, if they're able to look at it to say, okay, you know what, let's make it easier. I mean, just take, for example, an American citizen. If your passport expires today in Nigeria, you want to obtain the passport, it's actually easier obtaining American passports in Nigeria than obtaining Nigerian passport in Nigeria. Because all you need to do, the process is so seamless and easy. So what the government must look at is that e-government should first be a way of easing processes for the citizenry rather than generating money. Now, if we look at it from that point of view, it's that one. Secondly, We must also continue to look at the engagement of professionals in doing government business. So, governments want to give contracts of an e-government project, and you just give it to people who are more like people who have profiles on paper. We're not looking at professionals. Again, in this room today, for those who have been in the tech industry for a very long time, you can't say you don't know a name like Jide Awe, for example. Now, that is something that so if you say you know Jide Awe, if you say you don't know Jide Awe, again, how then do you want to do business in the tech business? But if you say, oh, I know Jide Awe, I know of a GDOS system that even as an undergraduate, we know of. So things like that, there are names that ordinarily should help to do this thing. And when those names are called to table, the first thing that comes to their mind is the Nigerian in them first. To say, oh, first, I'm a Nigerian. Secondly, I need to make this thing happen because I have a name that I've created over the years, and this name needs to be protected. So, for governments, we must begin to look at engaging the right professionals to do the right job and not just giving the government contracts for the sake of giving them. There are lots of lofty programs by government in the past that had looked at e-governance. Again, another government will come, we want to twist it, we want to change it. At the end of the day, we don't get it right. Now, by even when the National Identity Management Data System was launched long ago, if all the processes and all the procedures that were outlined in the document then were followed, by now, getting your name could be as easy as staying in your house, just to register your child and be able to get it. But because we've decided to be very political about it, we're not getting it right. The international passport, your driver's license that looks very good and smooth for you, trust me, it's because of the money we are generating from it. So, as a government, we must first look at how do we want to ease the life of the citizenry first before we talk about making money from those e-government processes. The moment we're able to do that, I'm very sure that we'll be making progress, first as a country, first as individuals, and secondly as a country, which makes it more beneficial to everybody in the country. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. But, talking about the government, bringing in professionals to do this job, just as you said, they probably may sometimes be biased and just give it to somebody that may not really be, capable to do that. As a private sector, how do you think we can propose such in the best way for them to believe that such, method can be implemented? I mean, we're all private sectors here. We have to probably bring it to the table. How do we propose this?
So, again, being a nationalist, for example, has nothing to do with how old or how young you are. Today, I will take the ministry that is so related to this event we're having today, the Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy. Now, pick all the parastatals under the ministry, right? In no particular order. Look at the chief executive of all those parastatals. For everybody in the room, tell me which of those parastatals are doing very well and check the background of the chief executives. What they have done in the ecosystem before they were called to service. One thing is very clear. For those who were part of the system, who has been part of the system before that call to service, their delivery is different. And what they do in that particular parastatal, in any of those parastatals where they are, actually shows that as professionals who have been with the professionals and they understand the field, their delivery is different. So what we must also do too is, irrespective of our political leaning or affiliation, if we select the right professionals to do the job, even as chief executive of government parastatals, they will get the job done and delivery will be very seamless. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So our next speaker, would you share with us how you think AI and automation, could be used to streamline processes in revenue collection? Yes.
Thank you. Now, to answer your question, everybody know that artificial intelligence is the order of the day. And what that means is it helps us to do what we are supposed to do effectively. It is not actually to replace what we are supposed to do. So, for example, if you implement your process, allow AI to take it over and give you feedback in such a way that there is limited human interference. So, again, what that does is it brings to you and I the best form of transparency that we can ever imagine. So you have a system, maybe you want to recruit some set of people to perform a task for you, and you want to limit the level of interference that human can have to it. So when you have this kind of system, what it does for you and I is that when you set the type of key expectation that you are looking at from people, what that do for you is that it helps you to take off your hand from picking people that you think you know, people that you think are your friends, and just give you, based on the model you provided, the best hand of people that can handle such. So when you apply AI, it gives us efficient and effective automative process in all the businesses that you want to do. And that can also be helpful via the number of data that is made available to the system. So you can't leave data out of it. When you have the appropriate data, artificial intelligence will give you a report that is very efficient and effective based on data, and you can be rest assured that you will get the desired result without human manipulation or bias.
Thank you very much. We'll be rounding up, so but before we do, I'll give each of you like just 1 minute each to close this up. Earlier, Ms. Ajuma was talking about some of the e-government methods that we have, but a lot of us are not even conversant with it. Because we have a lot of young people here, and we are the ones that will obviously drive these things, to work. What do you think we should do? How do you advise us to use this, new e-government methods that are in place right now, and so that if we could just generate more ideas, create more ideas to make things easy for the government, so that the young people here could at least take something back home to start thinking of a new idea.
All right, thank you. Now, they say information is power, right? The amount of information you have will be proportional to the level of decision that you can also take. So take, for example, from NERA perspective, you can go to NERA website, check their dashboard. You can see the total number of .gov.ng domain names that as a country we have, .school.ng, .com.ng, and .ng. That will, at a glance, give you the number of statistics of the number of registered domains, right? So Galaxy Backbone, as an agency of government, I'm sure, has some kind of mandate, and they are at the forefront of pushing for this .gov solutions, implementing e-governance solutions. And I can remember at the beginning of the year, I was asked to attend a session where they were discussing some of the applications that they are going to be using to implement .gov.ng, or let's say government processes. So at a glance, you can have access to all of these things. So at the back of it, there must be some level of awareness to back up these solutions for people to be informed. And there must be some level of capacity building to help these various institutions to be able to leverage this technology to implement their processes. And I could record also the last administration under Professor Issa Pantami I'm sure they launched a circular mandating all federal government agencies, parastatal, and department to go back to implement the third level domain for communication. So what they are supposed to do is that, what they said is that no government agency should use a Gmail to communicate. Instead, have your own email that is coming from your organization, and it must be through .gov.ng. So that alone will provide a platform whereby if a CEO is leaving, that email is still available within the office. But when you have a situation whereby a CEO have a Gmail account that he opened by himself and used it to communicate throughout his tenure, send correspondences, receive correspondences, you find out that at the end of the day, nobody have access to that information once the DG or the head of that agency is gone. So for NIRA, what NIRA is doing is that NIRA is pushing strongly for people to begin to adopt our own identity, our own flag, which is the .ng. And as I can tell you for free that right now, NIRA is seriously promoting .ng in collaboration with the National Information Technology Development Agency to advocate for .ng. As a matter of fact, it is one of the cheapest domain right now you can find anywhere. If you don't want to buy .ng, you can go and buy .com.ng. However, it is important for you to leverage on that .ng so that you can have your own identity. Forget about whatever people may say. The point is, if we can trust ourselves first, if you can believe in me, I can believe in you. I tell you, our own will thrive and others will follow.
Okay, so I will just take it from the last comment about trusting and believing in our own system. I don't know how many of us have been to 21st Century in Lagos. They have this, they call campus, somewhere around Lekki. The amount of infrastructure in 21st Century, if you step into that premise, you will be wowed with what a Nigerian has put in place in Nigeria. On a concluding note, for the government, we need to take serious. When we say we want to go E, let's go E. Right? There's no point CAC tell me I can file my returns online and get clearance and all of that when it's not working. But rather what works is for me to go there, to patronize the tout around there, get my filing done, and move on. So if we say we're going E, we must make all those like all the platforms Mrs. Ataguba mentioned earlier, maybe one or two of them you can say run optimally, right? So maybe you can only say your passports run optimally, your, driver's license run optimally. Most of those other platforms are not working the way they should work. So what we should be considering, if we want to make a platform user-friendly, we must also look at the workability of those platforms. So the government must also encourage users. To encourage users to use those platforms, we must make those platforms workable. And above all, let's put national interest above self and personal interests. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you very much for having us and also sharing your insights about what it means to, to be involved in the e-government and the regulations that are involved. We appreciate. Please, let's appreciate them once more. I think we should have a photograph. Ma, please, can you come up?
A better round of applause for our moderator and the panelists on ground for a quick and incisive job. Please bring the plaques upstage here for our dear sister, Ajuma Ataguba. I'm mentioning the names, please. The plaque for Ajuma Ataguba, please bring it up. Then the plaque for Dr. Mohamed Surajo, please bring it up too. And then the plaque for Adeshola Adesonya, that's Nira. Bring the plaques up. These are the 3 plaques that you bring up now. Number 1, Dame Ajuma Ataguba. Number 2, Dr. Mohamed Surajo Aliyu. Then number 3, Mr. Adeshola Akinsonya. Those are the 3 plaques you bring up here. Thank you very much. So this is in appreciation for your very esteemed presence and for your robust contribution to the success of TED Series 2. We deeply appreciate you. We believe that what we award on earth, God rewards from heaven. A round of applause for them, please. Digital or analog hand clap. Analog hand clap. Make it better. Make it better. Make it better. Thank you. Everend Tomori Esquire, please can you come up stage?